Anyway, I have not dealt with material culture. I'm not trained as a historian of material culture, but I am interested in the physical aspects of the life of people that I study, and since I do not study people of much wealth, I've always wondered about what can we learn about the lives, possessions, environment of ordinary people. Much of the literature, and again, Paula has given us an outline and seems to be changing a little bit, but much of the literature about material culture and consumption in early modern Europe or in early modern period is based on or discusses the consumption patterns and material possessions of those of means. And it's dictated predominantly by the kind of sources that we have, whether these are the inventories attached to wills or wills themselves, various other lists, inventories of sequestered materials by the Inquisition and things like that. Generally, it tends to skew the sources tend to skew our knowledge into the area of those of means. So, visiting museums and thinking about objects I see in museums, I always wonder about the possessions of those of very little means, because they would not be preserved, they would not survive. And one thing that struck me actually this year when I was in Poland, I went to a very small folk museum in the town of Brześć, and there was a little table, wooden table, and 3 stools from a peasant hut, and hut, H-U-H. And it struck me that they look exactly like the stools that we see in Bruegel's paintings. And one of the things that made me think about that, maybe if we want to learn about the physical aspects of people with little or no means, is to look at some of the artifacts from folk museums in the world. The wooden spoons that obviously no one would preserve, the wooden bowls that people would eat from, the stools that were around with 3 legs and very short, and that again very similar to the famous Peter Bruegel's painting of the peasant wedding. But also in terms of these are obviously anachronistic and documents, artifacts, but also to some extent when I've been working on these criminal records, I realized that some of that may allow us to understand the physicality, the aspect of people, of poorer people. Obviously they steal from those who have things, but there are descriptions of how they get into houses, or at least they tell us what they steal to sell, or what they steal out of desire to possess. So we may perhaps learn something about their patterns of desires of possessions. And I'll leave it up to you to decide and up for discussion.